Well, hello, DEJAN, and welcome to Música en Contexto. I am sure that a lot of people who are going to hear this interview remember very well your wonderful presentations you did here at Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires.
Hello, everyone. Buenos dias from Amsterdam. I'm very delighted to talk to you. And of course, I have so many wonderful memories from Buenos Aires. Well, not very, very far back ago. It was, I think, a couple of years.
2018.
Was it 18?
Yes, yes.
Right.
You did your beautiful list program that was something incredible.
Oh, I remember. And the atmosphere, of course, in
Yes.
Teatro Colón, the whole team around Mozarteum Argentino. And yeah, I've been for the first time in South America, in Buenos Aires in 2003. And then quite a few times, also with the Budapest Festival Orchestra and Ivan Fischer. So always wonderful memories. So it's a pleasure to reconnect now.
Thank you. And as you know, Mozart is the subject of this special project we are working on that's called Mozart 2021. And
Right.
Mozart is also the subject of your latest recording. And you have a long tradition of recording. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that you record chamber music. And
That's very correct, yes.
For us, being able to hear you speak about Mozart and
Right.
the way what has he meant during your career as a pianist is a unique opportunity for us. So I thank you very much. And what I wanted to start with is, since this is the first time that you record chamber music and it's about Mozart, what are the special requirements that you need to find in the musicians that perform this music with you?
Yes, exactly. So you're right. There are so many important aspects around this latest recording. And it's true. It's my first chamber music ensemble, let's say, ensemble chamber music recording. Although, and maybe despite the fact I've been playing chamber music all my life, and it is a great passion. And of course, as a pianist, you have so much repertoire to cover, of course, with Mozart, but also beyond. And I sort of thought to really wait for the right opportunity to put an important record out there with important works that were with me practically since my early childhood. And these two Mozart piano quartets are not only first ones of that sort for that piano and string trio ensemble, but it's also one amongst first pieces, chamber music pieces I played, back in the 1990s when I moved to Salzburg. And I played many concerts as a child, and being in Salzburg and having the opportunity to be around Mozart's aura, spirit, music, even the commercial bit, the liqueur and Mozart Kugel, everything was evolving around Mozart. And so I've been playing these piano quartets for 30 years. And I waited for the right opportunity to find really my favorite crew, my I would say maybe the top team with whom I've played it so often. And I found it in Benjamin Schmid, the violinist, whom I know since 1990s, early 1990s in Salzburg. Chen Hu, who is not only a wonderful violinist, but also my wife, and also a fantastic Chinese violinist. Johannes Herkes, our good friend and violist, with whom I played my very first concert in Salzburg in 92. And Enrico Bronzi, who is also based in Salzburg and teaches as well at the Mozarteum there, who is Italian and just a wonderful spirit, amazing cellist and musician. So to find, you know, a time slot where all of us are free and could record this, and the perfect label in Onyx Classics. And so it was just a miracle in a way. And we've recorded this Rondo Concertante, and my arrangement of that. I'm sure we will talk.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you about that later, because that's something very special.
Exactly.
You did. Okay.
Exactly. I thought we might discuss this, but back to your question about piano quartets. So it's multifold. I would say whether chamber music or symphonies, whether piano music, everything with Mozart originates from opera. He was primarily an opera composer. He saw himself as an operatic composer. So whether you play a piano sonata, violin sonata, or a symphony, there is always some idomeneo, Così fan tutte, Le nozze di Figaro, Bastien and Bastien, you name it, it's always there lingering. And furthermore, this music, these piano quartets are, in a way, yes, piano concerti, because piano is very predominant there.
Okay.
But it's the first time in a history, actually, that we have this arrangement. I mean, this piano and string trio where you don't have a second violin, but you have very prominent viola and very active cello. Cello that is not only in a normal basso continuo manner as we had it with so many composers before Mozart. And so that was very, very special to tackle this aspect of concerto / chamber music / underlying opera character and operatic characters that come from all these different Italian-speaking, but also German-speaking operas.
You know that I was going to ask you that as a performer, for those of us who are not musicians, what special things should we be paying attention while hearing these quartets? And I think you have answered it by saying that we should be seeing something operatic in them. Right. What else do we have to pay special attention in these two quartets?
Definitely dialogue. Dialogue between 4, or with Rondo Concertante 5 different instruments. Because this is so new, and in this dialogue, I mean, maybe if it's too abstract, every instrument has a particular color, particular language. So we have here in these piano quartets 1 violin, 1 viola, 1 violoncello, and 1 piano. And each of them act singly, but also as a string trio, the 3 of them, versus me as a pianist, but then also we all 4 as an ensemble, and then also me sort of in a dialogue with violin, with viola, with cello. So there's multitude of lines going through, and this is why I also waited for so long to put it on record, because one thing is playing and performing, but the other thing is, to record something and leave it there for posterity. Because of course you can always re-record things. I'm not saying that this cannot be done again, maybe in 5 or 10 years, why not? But you grow with all these performances as a musician, as an artist. And meanwhile, with my colleagues, we could sort of really sense, like when you have an ideal jazz session, one senses what the other one is going to do or say. If I take a little more time here, my colleague would immediately know, that means we need to give the time back, and we should accelerate on the other place. So all those things that lie between the notes that cannot be really put into words, all of that is something that we needed to grow as an ensemble together with. And so I would advise the listeners to listen to those special things, that are out there. We hope we did our best, and that can happen in a way spontaneously. you know,
Yeah.
because we recorded it at a beautiful castle in southern Germany, in Bavaria, very close to Neuschwanstein, the famous castle by Ludwig II. And so the whole aura, you know, Bavarian Alps and Salzburg being so close, and smell in the air. And it was summer of 2019. So concert was still full, you know, it was still free.
Yeah. I saw a wonderful short film that it's called Time for Mozart, and that it's wonderful because it shows the intimacy, the way that you intertwine with each other and the way you work together, and it was wonderful. So
Thank you.
Yeah. And you have mentioned that you grew up in Salzburg, and as you said before, Mozart was a constant presence in your everyday life.
Yeah.
To what extent did that presence influenced you as a musician?
I would go even further. I became a musician because of Mozart.
Oh,
know?
Yes.
It's even deeper than that, and it's quite amazing because when I was 7 years old, it was just the time when Miloš Forman's film Amadeus came to cinema, and I went with my parents to watch it, and I just already at that time I played piano, but I just immediately fell in love with just Mozart, the whole persona, you know, not just his music, but the whole portrayal, which of course later on I understood it was fictive, and it was of course movie, and of course the whole episode with Salieri supposedly poisoning him, that relies of course on Pushkin's Mozart and Salieri dramatic play. So, but aside from that, I still find that, of course, we all know how difficult it is to make films, credible films about classical musicians, and especially geniuses like that. Maybe that goes for painters as well, you know, and other artists, but composers, great composers, I mean, it's almost impossible to make a really great film about Wagner or Beethoven and Bach. You know, it's just because there's just so much we don't know, and there is so much imagination, so much abstraction around these greatest of the greats. And so I fell in love with Mozart and immediately said, hey, I want to play a second instrument and I want to compose. And my dad used to have a clarinet at home. And so I started with the clarinet just after I watched this film. And also starting, you know, writing my own little things, which, I mean, composing was at first, you know, just a hobby. Later it became a serious thing. And so with that, I learned Mozart's work from many different perspectives. And we all know that some of his most important works were written for clarinet. His very last instrumental concerto from year 1791, the year when he died, the year when he composed his last opera and the Requiem. He composed also a clarinet concerto, a magic flute. So I played that concerto a lot. And speaking of chamber music, maybe first chamber music piece I played by Mozart was his clarinet quintet.
Oh, yes.
Before I played the piano quartets. And of course, I played also the trio, Kegelstadt trio for piano, viola, and clarinet. So I learned Mozart from that side as well. And I can just say that whether you play violin or clarinet or a piano or compose yourself, in the end, it's all Mozart. And this particular sound, this particular way of writing, this simplicity, this divine simplicity, which actually is just top of the iceberg, because there's such enormous ocean of emotion and his intellect and just his attitude, how he wrote and productiveness. and being productive on so many different fields, you know, not just in chamber music, symphony, opera, but also church music, you know.
Yes, yes.
And he wrote for all kinds of different ensembles, and this is just absolutely stunning, because if we take some other geniuses, Beethoven, he was not maybe as productive on opera field, you know, and Wagner was not as productive in chamber music, and Chopin was primarily piano composer. But Mozart, there's just
no, it's incredible. We are constantly, you know that while preparing this, it's going to take all year long, and we are constantly in awe, because not just of the productiveness, is the beauty of each piece. It's something unique, and perhaps the people don't realize, because they tend always the concert halls and to schedule the same and the same and the same pieces, and there are so many, so beautiful, and it's wonderful. And you know that you're very known in the musical circuit by doing special arrangements when you present your concerts. Right. And you have done something very special with Liszt. You did something incredible with Carl Emanuel Bach and Britten, with Scarlatti and Bartók.
Right.
And if you have to do something like that with Mozart, which would you think are the best composers you can do something similar as you've done?
This was a thought I had with this previous disc, because my very last disc was Mozart, but also my very first disc was Mozart back in '91. Okay. So it's going actually to be tomorrow, 30th anniversary.
Oh, wonderful!
That disc was released for Mozart year, 1991. And on that disc, well, that was LP, cassette, and disc.
Okay, yeah.
So that was my first LP and my last LP. And so
the young people that hear us don't know LP they know, but cassette they don't know.
How to play it? Yes.
Yes.
You know, sometimes I'm worried, because this space shuttle Voyager that's been sent, I think, back in the 70s to the space with music of mankind, you know. I think there is this LP on it as well. And I'm worrying if aliens even find it sometime. Even today's kids don't know how to play it. So so that was, my first and last LP, but we also released a CD. So it was just this time, and 80s, beginning 90s. And so there was Clarinet Concerto by Mozart and Piano Concerto, E flat 449, number 14, with Zagreb soloists. So in a way, already ever since, I always struggled to find any counterpoint to Mozart.
Okay.
Because not that I would now dismiss some other composers where I made all these pairings, but Mozart is so perfect. You know, it is, if you take architecture, you would maybe think of either Egyptian pyramids or Parthenon in Athens, you know, a perfection of form, of everything, of architecture, just, and so you can hardly put next to it anything else. And a disc, having this limited time of 70 minutes plus, you need to really weigh out, would I, with pairing another composer, benefit the other composer, or would it sort of watering it down? And so with this first disc, I thought, back then in '91, Clarinet Concerto, Piano Concerto. It's a little bit on the short side, but sometimes less is more. Then in '98, I did a disc of Mozart solo works for piano. So it was called Retrospection. So I would just go from K1, his first minuet, till K574, you know, the late G in G major. So, and I would just make a little kaleidoscope of all of his works. That was that. And now we thought we have those 2 piano quartets, because he composed many concertos, piano concertos, 5 violin concertos, many symphonies, to some accounts up to 60 symphonies actually.
Okay.
Not all of them are contributed 100% to Mozart, but anyway, a lot of them, but only 2 piano quartets. And so we thought, if we put now next to it any other piano quartet, because this was first of its form. I mean, piano quartet by Mozart was the first ever. And that was inspiration for all the other piano quartets by Beethoven, Schumann, Brahms, you name it, into 19th and 20th century. So to combine it with any of those wouldn't make really much sense, because it's been done. So we thought, why not looking at Mozart through a prism with different eyes? And that's how we came to this
Rondo Concertante. Okay, can you tell us, because then there is, besides the Dejan, the pianist, is Dejan, the composer.
Right.
And to have these 2 piano quartets alongside with this Rondo Concertante, that's an arrangement that you did of the last movement of the piano sonata Kegel 333.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
How is it to enter into Mozart's musical universe with your own essence?
It was a labor of love. It was definitely something that I didn't just do in order to fill the disc, or because that was done actually 3 years before we even.
Okay.
So, because in its original version, this Rondo Concertante, this arrangement is for piano and orchestra.
Okay.
And so there is a, I will try to be short, but there's a little story that might put light or reflect better my process of thinking. Because, you know, when I did this Brahms violin concerto as a piano concerto, so-called number 3, and released it back in 2010, everybody, you know, would have kid and asked, hey, don't you pianists have enough repertory? Don't you have enough concerti? You know? And of course, some purists were opposing to the idea that one should do any arrangements at all, because as we know, from the second part of 20th century, arranging process, art of the arrangement in music, and I'm not talking transcription. Transcription would be something, for instance, if you take a flute concerto and you play it on violin. So basically, it's more or less the same notes, but you just change the instrument, you know. But arrangement, art of the arrangement is something that was perfectionized by Franz Liszt, because back in the 19th century, there was no YouTube. Right? And necessity made Liszt very inventive. He wanted to show to Parisian audiences that Beethoven's symphonies are great symphonies. So he arranged them for piano and performed them in Paris. He couldn't send the link, check this symphony out. Eroica is really good. You should play it. So, but of course, this was not the first time that arrangement in music happened. As you know, and many of our listeners will recognize composers before Liszt, back to you know, Bach, and even Italy, medieval Italy, made countless arrangements, or you would do set of variations on one tune in order to honor a fellow composer. So this was always something positive, and this was never meant to be oh, I have a better version, or I don't like the original. No, I love the original, and that's why I would like to show you this arrangement on my instrument. So this notion was first and foremost taking place in my head when I did Brahms' violin concerto for piano, and also many other musicological reasons why I did it. Brahms composed at the piano, and as we know, he just wanted to write a concerto for Joachim, And if Joachim was, playing a Mundharmonika, it would be then concerto for that instrument. So back to Mozart, I always ask before arranging a piece myself an important question. Is there a reason to do so?
Okay.
And what's the most important reason for me to arrange particularly this movement for this formation? Well, this is the only sonata, piano sonata, out of so many that has only movement actually of the sonata, of any sonata, that has a cadenza. Now, for those who don't know what is a cadenza is a place for the soloist. If we have a concerto for piano or violin or violoncello and orchestra, usually in classical period, so Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, we have towards the end of the first movement, usually this long fermata chord, and then soloists room to show his virtuosity, to remind us of some tunes that we've heard and some harmonic progresses. So cadenza is something that is typical for a concerto.
Okay.
Not for sonata, not for solo sonata. So there's actually a paradox in there. If Mozart writes a cadenza, long cadenza, in a movement of sonata for piano solo. So there must be a concertante thinking going on there. And we know that Mozart was very practical. He would write one piece, and then if somebody said, hey, I need a flute quartet, he would just quickly arrange it, put flute in there to sell it quickly, go to opera, not finish that opera, somebody didn't pay, and write this. So he was very practical and pragmatic.
Yes, yes.
So it's not written in stone that Mozart didn't think in those parameters. So that is my first question. Why cadenza? So does it mean this could have origins in concertante thinking? So piano and orchestra. And then I went into analyzing this movement. And if you analyze this movement and compare it to his other piano concertos in B flat major, because he wrote many piano concertos, but most of them, 5, are in D flat major. And if you compare rondos of these movements, the template is pretty much the same. For instance, you have 8 bars of piano introduction of theme. Then you have 8 bars, the same theme in forte by the orchestra. So you go really, bar after bar, you will see that's exactly the same. So I said, so this could actually work. Let us try it. And of course, when you are that far, then you have to communicate it with, friends, with the conductors, with orchestras to see if it works. And we premiered this version of Rondo Concertante for piano and orchestra in typical Mozartian setting: string orchestra, 2 oboes, 2 horns, 1 bassoon ad libitum. That's it. And of course, piano solo. And it worked. That was in San Diego, in California. It worked in 2018. And then actually I remember because that was just a week or so before I was
going to Buenos Aires. Oh.
Yes. I remember that was this big trip, Amsterdam, San Diego, Buenos Aires.
Oh, yes.
Plus, I was stressed because it was football world championship.
And you had to watch football matches here in Argentina because people go crazy here with that.
Yes, and as you might know, Croatia was vice champion.
Yes.
We lost in the finals against France.
Yeah.
So I was really stressed. I had Mozart arrangement going on. I had this major recital in Teatro Colón.
And you had the football match.
I had football. So that June, July of 2018 was horrible. But it was great.
And this, after you presented it in San Diego, have you presented it in other concert halls?
Yes, in Europe. Also, we made a tour in Australia 12 times. 12 concerts with the Australian Chamber Orchestra. So it's been growing. And then this is not the end of the story, which I promised will be short. I then started thinking many of Mozart's original piano concertos, Mozart himself played a quattro, meaning if in a smaller place or castle or city, there were no winds or not enough string players to form the orchestra, it was again very pragmatic to play just with string quartet. And so if there was a double bass, then it would be a cinque. And many of his concertos, he authorized it and played it. A major 414, also the flat major 449. So these are number 12, number 14. So number of concerti, he actually played both versions. So I said, okay, if I'm this far and Croatia was second in the World Championship, let me think, maybe this could work a quattro or a cinque as well. And it really did work. I made this arrangement of the arrangement where I would just leave out the 2 oboes and 2 horns. And this gives you just another perspective to the genius of Mozart when you dig in deeply. Because in the end, it is Mozart still, you know. The other day I've heard here in the Rijksmuseum, after they did for many years here in Amsterdam renovation, and the Rijksmuseum is now wonderful again with all the gardens around it, and there's incredible acoustic cupola, you know,
beautiful.
And there are many musicians, you know, performing there, and some choirs, and also string musicians, you know. And I recently heard a piece that I knew played on beer bottles, and I just was stunned. Somebody performed it, you know, had different, I mean, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 different beer bottles sizes, and some with, you know, 80%, some 90% full. So they had all different pitches. And then I realized, wow, yes, that's Bach partita.
Wow.
You know? And it sounded as genial because it was still Bach, you know. So in the end, this is what counts. And this is what is a difficult bit for you as an arranger / composer, that you don't destroy anything from the original, but just emphasize it. And so that's how this Rondo Concertante from the CD, a cinque version, happened. And of course we played it, and we are playing it again now in Austria on 1st of July. Thankfully, Austria now started opening concert halls again. So we will be performing, because in the end, CD is great, and you know, but to see people's faces, to feel the vibe, to feel this emotion, is something that is again traveling through the air, and then coming to them, this music, and back to you, and especially people who, you know, this is going to be at the festival called Diabelli Summer. It's in an area of Salzburg, so everybody will know the tune, you know.
Oh, beautiful.
And so I'm looking forward again to this contact with audiences.
When you come back to Buenos Aires, you have to present your Rondo Concertante here.
I would love to. I would love to. Yes.
And I wanted to end this conversation by asking, because while I was doing my research, I saw that in 2017, you composed a symphonic poem, Mozart and Salieri.
Right.
Inspired on the Alexander Pushkin's drama. And I wanted to ask you what drove you to write that symphonic poem, and how can we hear it, and where could we find it, and what story is behind this symphonic poem?
Yes. So that is another aspect, and obviously, as you see, every year there is some Mozart in one or another way in my life, because I'm just so fascinated with life, and there's still so much to discover. And I'm just now finalizing my essay on Mozart, and I'm happy to share it with you and your audience. It's basically, it's called Mozart in the minor key, So I'm exploring the particularity of Mozart's works generally, whether it's symphonies or chamber music, but those works that are written in minor key. And because when Mozart writes in a minor key, it's something completely different. It's even deeper, even more dramatic. And so, and I'm also covering the art of arrangement. So it's sort of two essays in one. And so I'm always fascinated with all these subjects around Mozart. And there's this amazing book by Alfred Einstein, not Albert. Einstein, and, on Mozart. And this is just, I would strongly advise to any Mozart lover to read it. I'm sure it's translated in all the languages. And so back to Mozart and Salieri, of course, I was always thinking and sort of analyzing this whole notion. I mentioned Miloš Forman and Amadeus were supposedly there fictively. I always have to say it because some people still believe, you know, because of that film that Salieri Mozart. But now newer evidence shows not only that it was not true, but Salieri was in many instances really supportive of Mozart and even planned his burial. And there are now some even, I wouldn't say rumors, because there are some facts coming from Czech Republic, from Prague, that actually Van Swaeling and Salieri organized a proper burial of Mozart in Czech Republic, and that actually Mozart's remains are there. And now DNA analysis might reveal this. So they are working on that now. So it is not the chapter Mozart is by far not over yet. Yes. Because as you know, 19th century Romanticism made all these stories up. And so there was this theater play by Alexander Pushkin called Mozart and Salieri. It's a short play where you just have three characters, Mozart, Salieri, and the blind violinist who has no text. And this is sort of something that was surely inspiring Paul Schaeffer for the play. So I was thinking, wouldn't that be a really fantastic, dramatic basis for a symphonic poem? Because there are just two little characters to make out of it an opera. But, you know, loving all my life great poems, symphonic poems by Richard Strauss, Till Eulenspiegel, and Heldenleben, and Zarathustra. I sort of fell in love with this form. And so I was sharing this with some friends of mine, and then this is where Krzysztof Urbański, Polish conductor, who at that time was at the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra, music director. He found this idea fantastic, so they commissioned this work. And so that work was premiered in Indianapolis, and there is of course orchestral piano in there. I performed, and then we played a Mozart piano concerto in the same concert, and then they played a Salieri symphony. So it was beautiful! Really it was, Salieri. And there is actually American Broadcasting Corporation. They did a radio recording, and there are plans to put it also on CD. Alongside with some other work, so I hope it will be commercially also available soon. But definitely in this symphonic poem, because if you go closely with Pushkin's play, and my grandfather was professor of Russian literature, so I remember throughout my life I got so much, you know, Dostoevsky and Pushkin and all the great ones, and so I felt sort of this is also a personal thing for me to do, but also, you know, honoring Mozart. And finally, really giving my contribution to the fact that this is fiction, you know, that Salieri did not poison Mozart. And so the blind violinist in the play is, there is a cadenza by a concertmaster. So he is the blind violinist, and it has 5 scenes, and that is sort of a short, maybe 25-minute long symphonic poem, but it was really great to use my own style, because when I arranged Mozart's works like this Rondo Concertante or Adagio in B minor for string quartet, I sort of always had, this incredible Mozart's, presence over me, and whatever you do, it's like walking on eggs. You don't want to destroy anything. But when you have this original composition, you don't need to worry about Mozart style or sound, trying to sound like Mozart or as close as it goes, but you're just free and you can just express yourself with your own language as a composer. So that was, in a way, purifying and refreshing, I would say.
Oh, Dejan, I just have to thank you for all the wonderful things you have told us, what have you explained, and your generosity with everything you have spoken to us. So thank you very much. And
thank you
we'll hope to see you. We'll hope to see you here soon sometime, okay?
Absolutely. I miss Buenos Aires, and please say hello to everyone.
Well, perhaps next year is the next World Football Cup. Perhaps you are destined to come each time there's the World Cup.
That would be great. And now we have this summer, because last summer it didn't happen, European Cup. So,
oh yes, yes.
I'm going now one after another summer into stress. So on I believe on 13th of June, it's the first game, England-Croatia.
Okay. Okay. Well, all the luck to Croatia. Okay.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you, and especially on this subject. And my greetings to everyone.